All right, welcome everyone. My name is Troy Vosseller. I'm one of the co-founders of gener8tor, and I'm honored to have Ilya Preston here, CEO of Paxafe, one of our gener8tor alumni, gener8tor portfolio companies. And we're kicking things off with our very first founder series spotlight video. So I appreciate Ilya doing this, and let's kick things off. Let's start with you introducing yourself and your company.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Troy. Great to be here. Ilya Preston, co-founder, CEO of Paxafe. We're a 6.5-year-old company here based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. We are logistics, orchestration, and decision intelligence for cold chain. So, do you know what cold chain is?
Tell
I think
us,
you do. I think you do. But
tell our audience.
shipping, I think you probably have an appreciation. Shipping anything is hard enough. You probably have gotten a missing package or haven't received a package on time before to your house. When you're talking about the shipment of temperature sensitive goods like drugs and vaccines and food, it's 10 times harder. You have to control for temperature, humidity, etc. We help pharmaceutical companies, produce companies, essentially manufacturers of these goods and logistics service providers, the intermediaries that help transport these goods, reduce their product loss, improve their operational efficiencies, and essentially optimize the performance of their transportation networks. So that's what we do. We're a software company, and we work with pharmaceutical companies, produce companies, and then these intermediaries to essentially reduce risk and optimize performance in the transportation network.
Perfect, love it. What's your current status? So traction, investors, how much you've raised, customers, anything like that.
Yeah, so I'd say we're definitely in the scale up and growth phase. You know, we've been around for 6+ years, and we landed some marquee customers in pharma and produce and logistics service providers in our early days. We got to do quite a bit of iteration, reiteration, and product improvement. We got it right. And now we're growing and scaling across the board, making sure what we can do what we did there with, 10 customers now at 100. We've raised about $14 million. We've brought on some great investors. I mean, obviously, gener8tor was our very first check-in, but we've got some great venture capital investors like Framework Venture Partners, Venture 53, Ubiquity Ventures. We also have some great CVCs that have come in, Northwestern Mutual in our earlier days, Greenlight Reinsurance, as well as Microsoft in our most recent Series A last year. So great investment partners. We built out a great team. We're a team of about 35 people between our team in the US and India. And yeah, we're growing like crazy in pharma, in logistics, in produce, as well as high value goods and oil and gas.
Nice. And then where are you and the company currently located?
So we're located in Indianapolis. We've got a pretty distributed team. We've got a team that scattered throughout North America. We've got a team in India as well. That's a heavy chunk of that team is our software team. But we've got people. We've got a cluster on the East Coast. We've got a cluster on the West Coast between San Francisco and LA. And then we've got some people sprinkled around throughout the Midwest in Tennessee, in Alabama, in Indiana, in Wisconsin. So we've got a pretty big team at this point. Between India and North America, it's about 35 people, and yeah, we're doing well.
Nice. Why Indianapolis? How did you get there?
So I actually have roots here in Indianapolis. I grew up here. My family's here. I think certainly, when you're starting out, you typically want to plant seeds in a place that's conducive to building and growing a company, attracting talent, having customers, etc. I think the nice thing about Indianapolis that makes it great to start a company is number one, cost of living. Number two, it's a quick plane ride to virtually any place in the US. Number three, there's major logistics and distribution partners and companies that are here or around here within neighboring states in Kentucky and Tennessee and Ohio. A lot of pharma in Chicago. So it's a very centralized location to the kind of ecosystem partners that we have across the board. And then of course, from from an investor standpoint, from a support standpoint, we have gener8tor here. We've got one of our great investment partners, Elevate Ventures, is here, who came in on our Series A round. So I think we've got a good support network. And I think post COVID, and especially throughout the COVID days and post COVID, it's everything has kind of gone much more remote, and as have we. And we found that in order to attract the best talent, we need to offer the ability to work remotely as a part of that. And so I think while we don't have all of our people here in Indy, we've got our primary offices here in Indy. We typically do a couple of on-sites annually here in Indianapolis, and it's a good centralized location, I think, for
Nice.
a lot of the things that we try to do.
I also want to give a shout out to our friends at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, IEDC. They've been a big partner of gener8tor's in terms of the G Beta accelerator programs that we operate throughout the state. And then, with things like business relocation, incentives, et cetera, I think they've just done a great job promoting all the benefits of Indiana. So shout out to IEDC. Um, when did you go through gener8tor and tell us a little bit about your gener8tor experience? What stands out?
Yeah, so we went through in the fall of 2018. I'll never forget the day that we got the acceptance email. I think we were one of five companies that got accepted out of 1,024. That always sticks out to me because I mean, that's probably, if you do the math, that's got to be somewhere akin to getting into Harvard, or maybe even harder. But we got very fortunate to get into gener8tor back in the fall of 2018. We had a unique experience because we got in with as a different company. We were not Paxafe when we came in. We ended up realizing halfway through the program that we had some maybe differing ideas than the founder of the prior company, and we ended up splitting off and starting Paxafe literally the week before, the day before, I think, the investor swarm. So the just towards the probably 75% of the way through the program. And so while we went through the program and learned a ton about startups, about how they operate, et cetera, we came out a completely different company by the end of the program. And yeah, we started Paxafe right then and there. And you and Joe obviously seeded us with the very, very, very first check that we ever got for Paxafe.
Nice. How did gener8tor help you the most?
Well, I think a number of ways, right? Because we started Paxafe right through the program, so we were learning as we went. I think first and foremost, your network. You brought us a pilot customer that probably otherwise would have taken us months to get on our own. That helped us very quickly to, I think, in this particular case, disvalidate what we were doing and kind of pivot and figure out what it is that we should do. So I think customer and discovery and really understanding, learning and understanding and having the opportunity to run discovery with big enterprise customers is by far the biggest advantage. Secondarily, you you brought a network of pre-seed investors so that when we were ready, I think 9 or 10 months after the program, we were able to close our first $1 million of pre-seed capital. And then finally, I think arguably the most important thing, or the second most, is we had immigration challenges. A year or two after starting the company, we had my co-founder Ashok, who was subject to going through the lottery system, and potentially, given how random that is, potentially having to leave the country. And I think we had met Craig Monturi at Global EIR through you. And ultimately, that program helped my co-founder Ashok remain in the U.S. and enter and go through that program and be sponsored by the University of Michigan throughout that 1 or 2 years that he was a part of the program. And that we probably would not have found on our own had we not been through the program. So I think that was a really, really big value that we got through the program, was just having a network of resources that we could call on for whether it's customers, whether it's investors, or whether it's something as nuanced as immigration.
I'm glad you brought up the global EIR and the visa piece. It's something we're rolling out more broadly at the company. We're calling it the gener8tor Soft Landing Pad. So stay tuned for more information on that front. Um, Ilya, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs and founders considering an accelerator?
Considering an accelerator, I think for sure you should. So brand name matters. I think by and large, you need to research and make sure that the accelerator that you go through, if it's a generalized or generic accelerator, non-specialized, I think you want to make sure that their KPIs and kind of their metrics that they gauge, whether it's graduation rate, whether it's funding rate, align with your expectations. So I think that's first and foremost. I think there are some specialized accelerators that may not be on the maybe at the tier or the national recognition of a Y Combinator or Techstars or Generator or whoever else. Um, but they could be really, really good for that specialized particular use case. I think the most important thing is just understanding going in what you want to get out of the program and making sure that the accelerator has KPIs in place and can point to a track record of being able to deliver on that. I think one of the things that we realized going through Generator was, particularly because we started the company halfway through the program, there is such a thing as being too early for an accelerator. And if you really want to maximize your return on investment on your time, you want to be at the right stage, the right phase of your company to be able to leverage all of those resources that are available to you. So there are very, very early stage accelerators. Obviously, there are incubators, there are later stage accelerators. Just understanding what the focus point or the focus area of that accelerator is, what they're able to deliver, and making sure that it aligns with what you're trying to get out of the program.
I agree. Tell us about your favorite part of the generator program or favorite connection made or just favorite anecdote from the program.
Ooh, let's see. You you remember when you made us pitch the day after we started the company? I think that was a fun memory. No, I think for sure. Honestly, I think it was the fact that we had gone through this major transition. We started the company, and literally in our first week, you and Joe had made us go out and speak and meet with all of these investors over a 3-week roadshow, where we would have much preferred to kind of organize our thoughts, do some discovery, and then go out eventually. I think one of the things that process taught us, even though we hated to do it at the time, it taught us to be very, very uncomfortable with, or sorry, being comfortable in the uncomfortable. So essentially, doing things that are hard, having difficult discussions, maybe doing things before we're ready to do them, which in this business you have to be resilient. You have to be able to kind of react and get back up. And obviously, when we were going out and pitching our very first version, I won't even call it version 0. It was like version -1 of Paxafe. Um, we were still in the extreme formation stage, and we had to be very, very, we had to learn how to be comfortable in those uncomfortable discussions where we would get questions and we hadn't done proper discovery yet, and we're still learning and we're still doing research. So I think while that was a tough period, I think that's probably my favorite memory, because I think we got a lot of positive out of it.
I like it. Be comfortable in the uncomfortable. We should do a session just on that.
I don't know if I
My
can do that, but
my
yeah.
last prompt, if you had one ask for the audience watching this today, whether it's an introduction, an investor, a customer, a mentor, who or what would it be?
Um, yeah, without naming any names, there's a very large pharmaceutical company in Indianapolis I mean, we work with some big pharma companies. Our largest customers, almost 100 billion in annual revenue. Our smallest pharmaceutical customers about, I think, over 2 billion in annual revenue. So, and everything in between. So, uh, without naming any names, there's a big pharma company in Indy. We haven't been able to get their attention. We've tried many different ways. Um, and one of the things I'd love to see is if we can get a meeting and see if we can help them in any way.
I like it. If everyone out there knows who he's talking about, let's help Ilya get that meeting. Thank you so much, Ilya. We appreciate it. You're just one of our favorite alums. It was such an honor working with you during the program and just continuing that relationship and friendship through today. So thanks for being our guinea pig. Again, you're our first on this Founder Series Spotlight, and look forward to staying in touch. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
thanks for having me, Troy.
Thanks.